Hello, welcome to Shamanism, Metaphysics, and Grace. Hello, Jyoti. Welcome to today's interview.
I'm glad to be here.
So, we left folks off last week right at the onset of this new moon eclipse. Today, we're recording on the new moon eclipse. Just for folks dropping in, what is this time period all about?
The new moon eclipse for Mountain Daylight Time was at 4:49 this morning, and it's this Sun, Moon, and Venus together the same exact degree, and so it heralds new moon, new cycle. It heralds a new cycle of creativity, of really expressing our values and the things of what's really important to us, and how we express this creative energy that we're made of.
Wow, that sounds pretty powerful and a beautiful lead in to the topic for today, which is
Samhain.
okay, wonderful. Would you like to open this sacred space for us?
Sure. Thank you. Grandmothers and grandfathers, ancestors of the East, we call to you. This is your time to show yourselves to us, if we make time to see. Welcome. Grandmothers and grandfathers of the South, ancestors of the South, we welcome you. Show us our path more clearly, if you would. Welcome. Grandmothers and grandfathers and ancestors of the West, you bring healing to us. Teach us how to receive it and be welcome. Grandmothers and grandfathers, ancestors of the North, we ask for your wisdom. Teach us what's next for us, and you are welcome. Grandfather Sky, ancestors of the light, of the air, we welcome your presence. Grandmother Earth, and all the ancestor bones we stand upon, we welcome your presence. And to that wise one who lives in our hearts and draws what we need to us, may that being speak clearly to us, that we can hear what we need to know. So I have an ancestor prayer from irishcentral.com. This is the night, Samhain, and we'll talk about when that is. This is the night when the gateway between our world and the spirit world is thinnest. Tonight is a night to call out those who came before. Tonight I honor my ancestors. Spirits of my fathers and mothers, I call to you and welcome you to join me for this night. You watch over me always, protecting and guiding me, and tonight I thank you. Your blood runs in my veins. Your spirit is in my heart. Your memories are in my soul. With the gift of remembrance, I remember all of you. You are dead but never forgotten, and you live on within me and within those who are yet to come.
Thank you. Jyoti, I'm going to open up with a question though about you, the way you call in the directions in relationship to the ancestors. So this ties in a bit. Because I've had people ask me this question. You are actually calling in the ancestors and inviting them.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a belief that, well, they're already there. Do I really need to call them in too and invite them? And I think this is a very important point, and I've heard you state that well.
It's an honoring. It's an
Mhm.
acknowledging and an honoring, even more than calling them in, because if you if you call them or honor them regularly, yes, they are already there, but it's like an acknowledgement. It's like an honoring of those beings who stand in that direction, those spirits who stand in that direction, and the qualities we seem to find in those directions and that have been delegated to that direction through history. But it's an acknowledging and an honoring and a saying, I see you there. You know, I know you're there. I sense you're there. I feel you there. But this is a real acknowledging of, yes, you are there. I see you, I feel you, I acknowledge you, and I honor you. Sometimes I ask for your help. Sometimes it's enough that you're there and I see you and I welcome you.
Yeah, perhaps it's a subject we're about to talk about, but you're calling in the ancestors today really touched me. It was a beautiful acknowledgement of them. And we're moving into this time of Samhain where we are going to be calling in the ancestors. Tell me a little bit more about it.
So Samhain is a Celtic acknowledgement of the thinning of the veil between our reality and spirit and those who have gone before. And different cultures acknowledge it in different ways, sometimes different times of the year. But Halloween, as we call it, All Hallows Eve, Samhain is the time of really honoring the ancestors and putting out food for them that you know that they liked from your own lineage, let's say, and that you put pictures up of your ancestors and you just honor them. Some people have a place, you know, an altar specific that they might clear other things away and put up the ancestor pictures for this time of year. I personally put them up on my kitchen table. And so when I sit down to have a meal, I am eating with my ancestors. You know, I'll have candles there and I'll have rocks and shells and all the things I like on an altar, feathers and stuff. And I honor them and I ask them to join me, especially at mealtime or in the evening when I light all the candles. Samhain is October 31st, but this year I'm leading a Samhain celebration on the Sunday night, the night before, because I'm teaching a class Monday night and I didn't want to interrupt that flow. So I'm doing it before, and I like to do the celebrations before the actual day anyway, because the energy's building toward that, not already starting to wane. You know, it's like building to the full moon. If you want to do something, do it between the new and the full moon, not after the full moon, because then the energy starts to wane. And so today is the new moon eclipse, and in 2 weeks we'll have a full moon. So this is a great new cycle of beginning something, starting something, getting something going anyway. So Samhain is honoring the ancestors, putting food out, inviting them to your table, literally or figuratively, and it's asking them to speak to you, you know, to show up in your dreams, to give you wisdom. These are the healed ancestors and the ancient ones whose bones we stand upon, whose bloodline we carry. And how do we avail ourselves of all that wisdom of lives lived? How do we acknowledge them? How do we thank them for guiding us and whispering in our ear? So Samhain, its main theme is about our touch-in with those beyond the veil.
You know, Jyoti, will you talk a little bit about this veil, particularly if we're new to this idea, and we have this veil. There's times a thinning of the veil. What does all this mean?
This means that what we might term popularly like the psychic world and the physical world are closer. You know, it's like when we have a huge full moon. You know, they call them super moons these days. And it's because it looks so big because it's so close to the earth. So things move close and far. And so at Samhain, it's like the ancestors come and the separation in our consciousness of what we normally see, like I see you and I can see you anytime. You know, we're both inhabiting this level of consciousness. But I can't always see my grandmother or my great 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 grandfather. So that level of consciousness just gets a little bit thinner, and we have more opportunity to touch in with the spirit world. Not everybody wants that. Not everybody's comfortable with that. Not everybody thinks it's a good thing. Not everybody is capable of doing that. Some people don't believe in it. So the capabilities are pretty small there because they don't believe it's possible.
However,
sometimes things show up in dreams that our conscious mind could not deal with or could not believe. So we have dreams about something. And are the spirits really there? Sure, why not? We're bridging different levels of consciousness in our dream life, and so we're able to, you know, run down the street and suddenly ride a bike and then we're swimming. I mean, that and there's no gravity in that dream world. It's like shamanic journeys, you know. Different rules apply. The law of gravity is not the main law there like it is here. And that's why we don't fly, but we can fly in our spirit body or we can fly in our dreams. And so sometimes dreams are a wonderful vehicle for souls who have passed on to contact us and tell us something and bless us with their wisdom and encourage us.
You know, it's just interesting as I'm listening because now in 60 some years, I invite that, I treasure it. But I remember as a child being so fearful, like, I don't want anyone to visit me in my sleep, right? And sometimes we carry
Yes.
that into adulthood.
Yes, I understand that in a slightly different way. When I was a child, I always felt there was a being outside my window, and I would sing to this being, and it was very benign, and it had my best interests at heart. I knew it. I never saw it, but I felt it every night. So I didn't have that fear of the unknown as a child. I had it later,
Hmm.
yeah, as an
Hmm.
adult.
Oh, that's interesting. It's just in reverse. I think mine was fed by people I lived with that also had those fears, right?
Yeah.
But you're talking about it through dreams. I actually think this is really a beautiful opportunity to talk a little bit more about that because sometimes if we don't feel like we can tap into things in the day, in our days, our dreams can be such a beautiful vehicle for coming closer to those.
Absolutely. And sometimes it's really appropriate or a good thing to ask for a dream. You know, when you go to bed at night, you know, I I'd like one of my ancestors that has my best interests at heart to visit me tonight. I'd like to have a conversation or just meet somebody in my ancestry that's very beneficial to me and who I maybe don't even know or know of,
Yeah,
you know, and just see what happens.
yeah.
Just see what happens.
What a good invitation. Now, if you feel a little more comfortable with inviting this in during your daily life and are open to that, there are certain things that people might notice that during this time when the veil's thin. Do you have some examples for us?
Um, sometimes you catch something out of the corner of your eye, and then you look directly at it and there's nothing there, but that corner of the eye stuff has a lot of validity. Sometimes there's quote coincidences, and all of a sudden um, uh, you get a correspondence from somebody that says, oh, remember Aunt so and so, I just found a letter she wrote to me when I was a kid. And meanwhile you're in this place of wanting to know some of your ancestors, and here's an invitation to this great aunt. um, there's those kinds of things that show up that are very subtle, or you might come upon a memory or a family story that you remember that somebody told you about somebody in the family, and maybe they didn't even know them, but it had the story or the legend had come down through the family line. Or you remember something of your own experience as a child with one of your ancestors, one of your grandparents or great grandparents who are now perhaps ancestors to you. Um, and I want to say this because I come upon it over and over again. Just because someone died does not make them a wise ancestor. Okay? Every soul is working out their own stuff, whether they're here incarnated in a physical body or whether they've shed their body and are somewhere else energetically working through that, whatever level of consciousness they've got that they've developed to learn and grow. So just because somebody dies, I was told by a friend when my sister passed, oh, she's in the land of the ancestors now, and you can look to her for advice and stuff. I don't know. I don't know about that. I think that sometimes there's things that we need to continue to shed, like belief systems and things when we pass, when we shed our bodies. And yet, paradoxical to that, we really don't know who each other are. I mean, my parents lived a very simple, quiet life in some ways. And yet I often wondered, who are they really? In spirit, are they, some grand creatures or angels from a different ancestral line? Or, who are they really? And yet they've agreed to be here for me, to give me passage here and to help me learn about the world and how to take my place in it, basically. um and so that's still kind of, I still mull that around. But just generally speaking, because a person has died doesn't make them a wise ancestor. So we call our wise ancestors to us, to teach us, to guide us when we need help. And so Samhain is a time where we maybe create an altar with some ancestor pictures, and the ancestor pictures you have might be the ones closer in who have died over the past, let's say, 40, 50 years. And we honor them with candles and things that we like to put on altars. Everybody does different things. And we may say some prayers for them, for their own evolution, for their own ongoing growth. We may decide to cook something that was a family favorite, let's say, and put that on the altar. And as we take part in eating some of that ourselves, we eat it for them. Okay. And it's just more of an honoring and an acknowledgement that this isn't all there is, and we aren't all there is. We are so much more.
Talk a little bit more about that. That's intriguing.
So we have these lives, we're born, we come in as the divine child. We talked about that we would talk about it. So we come in as this, in a way, very innocent of consciousness. Yes, we have our karma and it's loaded into our heart, but in those moments of coming in, we are like the divine child being reborn. That divine child that we are, the essence of our, for want of a better term, God, goddess self. Okay. And we've incarnated as this spark of the divine. And then we're lulled into this sleep, and our parents give us different ideas of who we are and rules of how to behave, and we learn the language of the land we live on, and we're told different kinds of stories, and we kind of get lulled into this different sense of identity. Okay. But coming, and we have our karmas that we draw to ourselves so that we can grow beyond them in the course of our life. But we come in as this sacred being, kind of like, to borrow from Christianity, like the Christ child. The Christ child is born in every birth there is, including our own when we were born. And if that's acknowledged, that's a whole different life that that child gets to live. If it's not acknowledged and it's just a kitschy, coo, cuddly baby, then that child lives a life that's a little bit more asleep.
Interesting.
It is. It really is interesting. And then I've talked about this before, I think, in a metaphysical talk about the heart seed atom that has the accumulation of our karmas, releasing these seed atoms through the bloodstream that become the magnets that draw to ourselves situations in life that help us grow through what we came to grow through and learn what we came to learn.
Sure. That's the magnetics. And
Yes.
yeah.
Yes, that's the magnetics. Like oxygen molecules, what is it? Iron molecules in the blood magnetize the oxygen molecules to carry oxygen to the extremities and through the blood. The heart seed atoms are magnets that draw out of life those situations to you that you can grow beyond.
Mm.
And sometimes, that's a whole life. We don't realize that, oh, this is for me. This situation came for me so that I can push past it and maybe re-choose and reframe it. Sometimes we go through those situations like 20 times or 2,000 times by the time we're 40, and then we go, oh, I think I need to deal with this. I
Right.
think this one has my name on it.
Exactly. Or right. It has my name. They've all had my name on it.
Oh,
But
yes.
this time I'm going to deal with it.
Yes, or this time I can see it or I can hear
Yeah.
it. Or this time I realize, wow, this is so familiar. This isn't an isolated incident. This has been coming up over and over and over. I think I should pay attention.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
When we find ourselves saying, here I am again. I wonder
Yes.
how that happens.
Yes. Yes. Or a series of incidents where it's the same bottom line. It's the same bottom line, and it's like first time, oh, that's that other person's fault. Second time, it's like, what's going on here? Third time, it's like, maybe this has something to do with me. Fourth time, it's like, oh, this is mine. Yes.
I love it. And I also love the fact that you acknowledge that it may take 4 times or more.
Or more. Or
Right.
more. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Let's go back to Samhain for a moment. If I wanted to honor this time myself, I understand about the altar. Is there some sort of ceremony I might consider?
Well, in the ceremonies or celebrations I rattle. I'm more a rattler than a drummer. And but people can do either. And it's in that it raises energy, you're honoring them, you're acknowledging them, these beings who help you, even if you have no idea who they are. And you might just be more open to what's coming up and what it's time to let go of. Because we carry a lot of family stories, we carry a lot of ideas of who we are in the world, and so it's kind of like almost a Neptunian renting of the veil and a willingness to look and see, okay, what are the illusions I'm dancing with right now, and what is this time frame providing an opportunity for me to see that I no longer need to carry. And it's interesting how this new moon eclipse in Scorpio is dovetailing with Samhain, just so many days apart.
Well, speak a little bit more about that, because I think it does. There stuff comes up, and then we have the opportunity to deal with it, and with our ancestors' help.
Yes. And so the sun, moon, Venus of this eclipse being the same degree, 2 degrees Scorpio, it's kind of like opening the door of opportunity, the new moon, new cycle. It's opening the door of opportunity to perhaps this Samhain, see it in a different way, reframe it, take advantage of the opportunities that are being offered, looking at our values and priorities once again with maybe a different lens, through a different lens, and realizing what is of the old order and can be let go of and doesn't need to be carried forward. And it can be simple things like, attitudes. I mean, most times when you're carrying an attitude, when you're having an attitude. It's not really the way the situation is, it's our reaction to it and our beliefs and how we sometimes take care of ourselves, but sometimes it's time for that stuff to go. And with the letting go of attitudes and beliefs, we have opportunities to meet new situations with new eyes.
New situations with new eyes. I think that's something we should wish for everyone.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Jyoti, what else would you like to add today?
I think that there's a Buddhist expression, and I usually just murder it, but to use a interesting term, but it's may all beings be happy, may all beings be free from pain and suffering, may all beings know peace.
Perfect ending. Thank you. So, folks, it's been wonderful spending this time together with Jyoti and sharing this wisdom with you. I want to invite you all to reach out to Jyoti should you have personal interest in taking classes, having a reading, having Jyoti hold space for a shamanic journey for you. And you can certainly find her on her website, which is
JyotiWindAstrology.com.
perfect. And until next week, I wish you all well. And thank you once again, Jyoti.
Thank you, Lauren. Thank you.